I am making a Blackberry lavender cornmeal cake. My standard cornmeal cake has a lot of sugar, has a lot of butter. It's good, but it's rich. So I want to do a lighter version of that, and I'm not using any butter. I'm using yogurt to help soften the cake. I'm using blackberries to get some natural sweetness from that. So it's just condensing down and swapping out some ingredients to make it a little lighter. I'm not changing the flavor of it. It's gonna be as delicious, but not as rich. All right, so I have 1 1/4 cup of flour in my bowl here. I'm gonna add 3/4 cup of yellow cornmeal. That's your standard cornmeal that you use for cornbread. I have a 1/2 tablespoon of baking powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Give it a mix. Okay, put that to the side. Now for my wet. 3/4 cup of yogurt. So I like using full fat yogurt because it helps to soften the cake without using extra fat like butter. I have 3/4 cup of whole milk, 2 eggs, and a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and a cup of sugar. I mean, it wouldn't be a cake if it didn't have sugar. I'm gonna mix this together. Okay, and now I'm gonna add my wet to my dry. Whisk that together. Make sure there's no clumps of flour, but you don't wanna over mix your batter. That's gonna create a very dense cake. So one thing that my grandmother really made a lot was cornbread. But Grandma, I'm about to tell the whole world your secret. She didn't make it from scratch. No, Grandma used the box stuff, but it's good. It was good. It just came from the box. But I mean, she added her own little thing to it. Sometimes it's just the hands, you know? It's the hands that prepare it. She prepared that box really well. So I just added a cup of blackberries. Now fold these in. I have an 8x8 dish here that I've buttered down. And I decided to use blackberries because they're in season. I love the texture that it adds. You know, when you bite into a piece of cornbread and you get a piece of that blackberry, but you can add any type of berry that you like for this recipe. So my oven is preheated to 350. I'm gonna bake this for about 35 minutes or until I insert a toothpick down the center and it comes out clean. All right, while that bakes, I'm gonna make the syrup for my cornmeal cake. I'm making a blackberry lavender syrup. So simple. I'm gonna macerate a few blackberries. To macerate means to break it down with some sugar to create a syrup. So I'm gonna break down these blackberries, mush it up just a little bit, add some sugar, and that's gonna create a natural syrup. Okay, I'm gonna gently mash, because I have this pretty shirt on. I'm gonna gently mash some of my blackberries. I'm gonna create some of that juice at the bottom here. A teaspoon of lavender. Now I love just, oh my gosh. Lavender adds a floral essence to this cornmeal cake, but be careful, too much can ruin the flavor. I'm gonna add 3 tablespoons of sugar to help create my syrup. Mix it up. I'm gonna add the rest of my blackberries in here. Give it a good mix. Make sure that lavender is thoroughly incorporated. All right, so this is not done yet. The longer it sits, the juicier it gets. And I want a ton of that syrup because I'm gonna put it all over that cornmeal cake when it's done. Whew, this cornmeal cake smells incredible. All right, so this is done. Let me grab my berries. All right, so this is a sure way to tell if your cake is done. You take a toothpick, you insert it down the center. If it comes out clean, it is done. I'm also gonna poke this cake because I want that syrup to soak inside of this cornmeal cake. Okay, I have my macerated berries here with my lavender. I'm just gonna pour it on top. And all of the juices are gonna go through those holes. Only thing left is to let it cool, and I'm gonna have a slice with my dinner later. I gotta get a piece of that cornmeal cake while it's hot. I can tell it's nice and moist on the inside. Oh my God. It's sweet. That lavender just makes it so aromatic. You see the char on that corn? This is gonna get the party started. So next, I'm making my sliders. So for my burger, I have 80-20 ground beef mixture. That's 80% lean, 20% fat. Jalapenos that I have taken the seed out. A little orange juice. A little lime juice. Some minced garlic. 2 tablespoons of my house seasoning. A teaspoon of chili powder. And 1 teaspoon of cumin. All right, so this patty is super flavorful. I'm making sliders, so they're gonna be small patties. This mixture makes about 12 patties. So I'm making them about this thick. I wouldn't even say that's an inch thick, all right? Let's grill these burgers. All right, so I have oiled down my grill so the burgers don't stick. All right, so I am just gonna grill this for about 3 to 4 minutes on each side. I prefer my burgers cooked medium well. All right, so while that cooks, I'm gonna get started on my Mexican-inspired street corn. I have some corn that I have taken off the cob. I'm gonna fry this up with a little salt and some garlic, but I'm gonna wait to add the garlic just until the end because I really want that garlic flavor to stand out. A good burger to me, not only is the patty well seasoned, the toppings also make it too, you know? Like, I'm gonna get a well-dressed burger. I want my burger dressed to the nines, honey. Okay, let me check my burger to see if it's time to flip. It is. Look at that. Got some nice grill marks on there. And the spices in the patty give it a really nice color. That green sticking out from that jalapeno. Beautiful. Okay, I also like to hit my burgers just before I take them off the grill with a little salt. So the burgers are most likely up to medium well now, so I'm just gonna take them off. Don't wanna overcook. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna turn my heat off so it doesn't cook anymore. You see the char on that corn? That's exactly what I wanted. I've been cooking it with a little bit of salt and that oil. Now I'm adding in that garlic. Turn the heat off, that's that. Now I'm making my dressing. I have some mayo here, a little lime juice, lime zest, a little cilantro, got some green onion, a little tortilla cheese. It's salty, a little nutty. Mix that together. I'm gonna add a little salt and pepper. Okay. So now I'm gonna add my cooked corn. Give it a mix. I'm gonna add just a little bit more chili powder for some color and more smokiness. All right, let's build our burger. Get some sweet rolls here. Add a patty. Get a little piece of this bib lettuce. Close it up. And chow down. This is gonna get the party started. Cornmeal-Crusted Catfish. I need to get my catfish marinated before I get to the dinner site. I'm gonna marinate the catfish in milk, not buttermilk, but milk. Milk is not as heavy as buttermilk. Right here, I have about 10 whole fillets cut in half. So this is about 20 fillets. I'm adding my house seasoning to the catfish. It's just like my all-purpose seasoning. The reason I chose catfish is because it's traditionally Southern, but also because catfish was very inexpensive. And it was a great way to feed families for little to nothing. And like we go by in the Gullah tradition, we eat by the land and by the sea. And catfish is very easily accessible here in the South. So that's why I decided to use catfish. So not only are we telling a story through the Hutchison house, we're also telling a story through food. Marinating catfish in milk not only gets the catfish seasoned, but it also helps that coating to stick on the fish right before I fry it. So that's mixed up. I'll fry these fresh when I get to the fundraiser. I have my paper bag here. I'm gonna do about 2.5 cups of cornmeal and about a cup of all-purpose flour. The cornmeal gives you more of a texture, a little more of that golden brown color. Got some of my house seasoning in there. When Henry Hutchinson, when his family was living in here, I'm pretty sure there was a lot of fish fries that happened on this property. And to be doing that right here just means a lot. I do a little bit at a time, don't want to overcrowd the bag. My mom always used a paper bag. Using a paper bag just coats it better. Whether it be chicken or fish, a paper bag is the way to go. They should fry for about 10 minutes, just depending on how thick your fillets are. My oil is set to 375. And you see the coating on there. It's not overly thick. It coats the fish just enough. All right, so the first batch is done. I'm gonna finish frying up this fish and get ready for this dinner. I cannot wait.
Oh, this catfish is great.
Yeah. Thank you, Uncle Greg.
Now, did you catch him?
Miss Carol did not catch him, but I fried him.
Well, you did good.
Panzanella is a great thing to make for a large crowd. You got some stale leftover bread, cut that up, put some vegetables in there, add a vinaigrette. You got yourself a side or an appetizer. So I've sliced 1 small red onion. I have 1 English cucumber here. I'm cutting the English cucumber into half moons. A traditional panzanella salad does not have cornbread, but of course we're in the South, so we're gonna use cornbread. Okay, so I got 2 pounds of heirloom tomatoes here. I love them because they come in all varieties of shapes and colors, and I think it's just a great way to mix things up a bit. So I have 3 large tomatoes and a few grape tomatoes here that I'm just gonna half. My veggies are cut up. Let me grab the ingredients for my vinaigrette. It's gonna be a little tangy. It's gonna have a little garlic in there, of course, some Dijon, some white wine vinegar, some olive oil. Let me grab my garlic cubes. And I might as well grab my cornbread. I have 3 cloves of garlic here. Just gonna do a quick mince. So I'm gonna use about, I'd say, a ½ cup of olive oil. I'm going to emulsify my Dijon in there, so I'm gonna whisk and add in the Dijon. We're going about 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard. Got some white wine vinegar. This is gonna be a tangy salad, and I like that. I'd say about 1/3 cup. Heavy pinch of salt. And crack some black pepper in there. And some capers. And I like adding capers because it's gonna make it like a little briny. It's a little salty, it's very tangy. All right, put that aside. I have cornbread that I made yesterday. Had I made this today, right out of the oven, it wouldn't have been as firm and it would just fall apart in the pan. So it needs to be day old, kind of hard. All right, so I'm gonna cut these up into, I'd say 1-inch cubes. All right, so I'm gonna head over to the stove and get my bacon started. I have a cast iron skillet here that I wanna heat up. I have 3 slices of thick cut bacon. Just gonna render down this fat, remove the bacon, keep the grease in the pan, and then toast my cornbread in that bacon grease. So I'm cooking the bacon all the way through. I want it to get nice and crispy because I am gonna crumble it and add it to the salad. All right, so the bacon has browned. I got my leftover bacon grease here. Just gonna put the cornbread right in the pan. Just gonna give it that smoky, a little salty flavor. All right, I'm just gonna flip them, manipulate them around, and I don't wanna be too rough because I don't want it to crumble up. I'm just doing a light toast. All right, these are toasted. All right, so the second batch is done. All right, let me grab my bacon and my cornbread. All right, I'm gonna take the bacon because of course I'm gonna add that back in there. Chop up the bacon. I'm just gonna finely dice this up, make some bacon bits out of it. In the bowl, got some tomatoes in there, English cucumbers, the onions. Add the bread, add a little bit of the bacon bits, add some basil, a little brightness, a little herbiness. And if you don't like basil, because I actually run into a lot of people that don't like the flavor of basil, you can also use parsley. Roughly chop that basil in there. I want to slowly add in my vinaigrette. use a little bit at a time because you don't want to make it too soggy. Oh, guys, this, not only is it pretty, but it smells incredible. That looks good to me. Let me taste it. All right, let's see. That's good. So I'm making a corn dog batter with flour and cornmeal and sugar, but instead of doing like, you know, the run-of-the-mill corn dog on a stick, I'm making them bite-sized. Kids are gonna be running around, why not make them bite-sized? So I've cut up 4 hot dogs. I'm gonna wash my hands. I'm gonna make my batter now. I have 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter that I've melted, adding it to a bowl with a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar and a 1/2 cup of buttermilk and 1 egg. Give it a whisk. Right now for my dry, I have a 1/2 cup of yellow cornmeal. I'm gonna add a 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour, a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Give it a mix. Now I'm gonna add my wet to my dry. Little sweet, a little salty. Whisk it together. All right, I have a mini muffin tin that I've sprayed with non-stick cooking spray. I have a little mini cookie scooper here. I wanna scoop out my batter. 1 scoop should do the trick. And then put my little pieces of hot dog in the center. Growing up and going to the state fairs, and I think as a kid, I mean, I was excited about the rides, but I was that type of kid that was more excited about the carnival food. Anything on a stick, anything deep fried, I was there for it. You wanna fill your mini muffin tin halfway. You don't wanna fill it all the way to the top because you gotta make room for your hot dog. So I'm gonna just put them directly in the center, and when it bakes up, it's gonna kind of like cover it, so the little hot dog is gonna peek in the middle. All right, so I have my oven preheated to 375. I'm gonna bake these off for about 10 minutes. The big debate, ketchup or mustard on your hot dog? I am a mustard girl, and I don't feel like figuring out what these kids like, so I'm gonna combine the both. So I've got some Dijon mustard here I'm gonna put in the bowl. I wanna try to do equal parts. Ketchup, a little bit of honey just to make it sweet, and some mayo. Give it a little creaminess. 2 heavy spoonfuls mayo. A little salt and pepper to give it a little flavor. So simple, and it satisfies everyone's craving. Let me give it a taste. That is really the best of both worlds. I taste a little bit of the ketchup, I taste the Dijon, I taste the honey, and then the mayo just makes it creamy. I smell them. Smell that sweet cornmeal batter. Oh, look at these golden brown. They're so cute and mini. These are gonna be great for the carnival, but you know what? You can actually serve these at a birthday party. I promise you they'll be a hit. I am making a peach upside down cornbread cake. Let me describe this to you. It's like having an upside down pineapple cake, but instead I'm using peaches. So I have a cast iron skillet here heated, 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter. Right now I'm making the syrup for my upside down cake. I have a 1/3 cup of light brown sugar. I'm gonna add a teaspoon of cinnamon and a pinch of salt. Just gonna melt and stir until it's combined. I like to turn my heat off. Now, the thing about this is the sauce is gonna cook off in the oven, so even if the sugar hasn't completely dissolved, it'll do that in the oven. Now for the cake, I'm going to cream 9 tablespoons of softened unsalted butter, 3/4 cup of granulated sugar, Right, so creaming the butter and sugar basically means breaking it down until it becomes fluffy, light, and airy. That looks good. Now I'm gonna mix my dry ingredients. 1 cup of cornmeal, yellow cornmeal, and I have 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour in here. It's more cake-like because there's flour in here as well. I'm gonna add a teaspoon of baking powder, and I'm also gonna add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'm adding 3 eggs, 1 egg at a time. And my last egg. All right, so I'm gonna add a little bit of the cornmeal mixture, and I'm gonna alternate between flour and milk. And I have 3/4 cup of milk. And add in the remaining of the flour and cornmeal mixture. That looks good. The first time I tried this recipe, I really didn't have like a pattern in mind, but I knew I wanted something circular and pretty. So I just took some of my peaches. I have 3 cups of frozen peaches. I went in a clockwise motion around the bottom of my skillet. Remember, this is an upside down cake, so I'm building this cake from the bottom up. When I serve it, I'm gonna have to flip this out of the cast iron skillet, so this will be what you'll see first. Pour my batter on top of the peaches. I'm just gonna smooth this out over the peaches. I have my oven preheated to 350. I'm gonna bake this for about 40 to 45 minutes, or of course, until you put a toothpick in the center and it comes out clean. My cake is done. I'm gonna grab it out of the oven. Oh my gosh, I smell that butter and that cinnamon. Ooh, that is pretty. It's nice and golden brown. Has those buttery, crispy edges. So I gotta let this rest before I take it out of the skillet. So my cake is out of the oven. It's been resting. Now it's time for me to flip it. This smells and looks heavenly. Let's put my little decorative plate on top. I had to loosen up the sides a little bit with the knife to make sure it comes out perfectly, and I think it did. Look at this. Look at it. It's so pretty. The caramelization, the brown sugar with the peaches, and then it's that pretty pattern. I mean, it is beautiful. I am making tomato pie with pimento cheese. Now I'm gonna get started on my crust. I've added a 1/2 cup of cornmeal, 3/4 cup all-purpose flour. I'm also adding in a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Okay, now I'm adding 1/3 of shortening. I'm just pulsing this until I get little pea size of that shortening. All right, cool. And now I'm gonna add in some cold water, a little bit at a time, until it forms almost a ball inside my food processor. Put it on low. It's coming together. It looks pretty good to me. I wanna add a little flour on my cutting board here, a little bench flour. I'm gonna take my crust. A tomato pie is basically made with a crust. Now, it could be cornmeal, it could be your standard crust. I like cornmeal crust for texture. All I'm doing right now is just forming my dough, and I wanna form it into like a disc. So when it's time to roll out after it chills, it'll go directly in my pie shell, and it'll be easy to manipulate. All right, so that's a nice disc. Now I'm gonna wrap my dough into this plastic wrap and let it chill in the fridge for about 30 minutes. Grab my tomatoes. I thought it would be really great to use heirloom tomatoes for the color and the texture. I'm just gonna kind of slice them into like sandwich slices like this. Not too thin because you don't want it to basically melt or mush together inside the pie. So just enough sandwich slices. This is my last tomato slice. I'm gonna add some salt to my tomatoes to help draw out some of that moisture before I bake it with my pimento cheese. Now, while that sits there, I'm gonna grab my pie crust. It's chilled for about 30 minutes, and I'm gonna roll out the dough to fit the size of this pie dish. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is a rustic pie. I'm gonna gently mold my pie dough to the pie dish. All right, so I'm gonna do my simple crimping technique and just taking your pointer finger and your thumb and just pressing it in. All right. I'm gonna add a sheet of parchment paper to my dough. I'm gonna add some baking weights. Now, baking weights help to keep it nice and flat. That's good. My oven is preheated to 400 degrees. I am gonna bake it for about 20 to 25 minutes. I'm gonna grab the other ingredients for my tomato pie. I'm gonna use ham, my famous pimento cheese, got some onion, my house seasoning, parsley, and chives. All right, finished cubing my country ham. All right, I'm gonna put my ham in this bowl. I smell my crust. Think that's done. And let me turn my oven down to 350. All right, now I'm gonna layer my tomato pie. Start with a layer of the tomatoes. Sprinkle it with some of my house seasoning. That's some salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and paprika. Also gonna cut a few chives and fresh parsley to add to my layers. It's gonna give it a little herbiness, a little color. Add my pimento cheese. Oh, my pimento cheese. It's like none other. It's the best pimento cheese I've ever tasted. Now I'm adding my cubed ham, some onions. And these are just sliced white onions. Add a little of my parsley, some chives, and just repeat that layer. Now, once this bakes, all of the flavors and the layers are just gonna kind of meld together and make this cheesy, creamy concoction. My oven is preheated to 350. I'm gonna bake this off for about 30 minutes. Ooh, look at this Mexican street corn salad. So I have 6 ears of corn here. For the corn, I'm gonna make my cream base, 1.5 cups mayo, just eyeballing this. Add in 1 teaspoon garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of chili powder, 1/2 teaspoon of cumin, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Make sure that it's nice and fully incorporated. So I'm gonna use this in multiple ways. I'm gonna brush it on the corn. Ooh, it smells so good. I smell the smokiness. The corn are nice and covered. I got my grill hot. I'm gonna put them right on the grill. Get that sizzle going. Oh yeah. I love grilled corn. So this is gonna take about 5 or 6 minutes per side. I'm gonna add a few more ingredients to that bowl to get my salad going. This cream is great as it is, but I'm gonna add some green onions, some cilantro, and the juice of 2 limes. The juice of these limes are gonna loosen up that cream mixture. All right, so that corn is popping. That means you need to turn it. It looks kind of burnt, but it's not. You want that char because it's gonna be so beautiful in that salad. That needs 5 to 6 more minutes. While that's going, I'm gonna finish up on my dressing. If I'm making a grilled corn salad, I like something spicy, and I mean, I'm from the South, I gotta use hot sauce. And I've got some cotija cheese. You can also use fresca cheese, which is less sharp and less salty. That red color, the pop of green from the green onions and the cilantro, smells amazing. My corn is definitely done. Got some nice char on both sides. I can eat it right off the cob, just as is. And I'm gonna show you an easier way to get the corn off the cob. I got 2 bowls. Turn the smaller bowl over. Place the corn on top. Look at that. See how easy that is? That's my last ear of corn. So I'm adding the corn where I have the mayo, the hot sauce, the chili powder, the cumin, the garlic, cilantro, the green onions. It's a fiesta in a bowl. Cornbread with green onions, jalapenos, honey, and cheddar. So I've cut up some green onions, dicing about 2 medium-sized jalapenos. But if you don't like it spicy, remove these seeds, okay? And I'm using a whole lot of butter. Slowly melt 2 sticks of unsalted butter. I'm adding in salt towards the end. I'm gonna get started on my dry ingredients. I'm gonna use a cup of cornmeal, flour, a cup, half a teaspoon of baking soda. I'm gonna give it that height. Half a teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. Whisk that up a little bit, and I'm gonna get started on my wet ingredients. Buttermilk. So the buttermilk is basically gonna make the cornbread tangy, soft, and it's gonna help with that rising with the baking soda. Half a cup whole milk. I'm using honey. I think it's a little bit more pronounced than sugar. Half a cup. Gotta have something that binds this cornbread together. 2 eggs. Oh, wait, guys, butter. How I forget my butter? Ooh, yes. So I have some cheddar cheese. Growing up in my household, we never put cheese in cornbread. I just thought this would be really cool to add with the jalapenos and the honey. I mean, I love cheese. I'm gonna grate about a cup. I'm gonna eyeball it. Looks like a cup to me. If you wanna add more, by all means add more. Now I'm gonna add my wet ingredients to my dry ingredients. The jalapenos, the green onions. Now I'm not using the entire cup of cheese. I'm only gonna use a half a cup because I'm gonna use the remaining cheese on top. If you overmix, what's gonna happen is you're gonna lose that height and that fluffiness. Just mix it enough until where it's incorporated, that's it. Oh, wow. The butter that was left in the pan is kind of like seeping over the top. If you wanna sneak a little peek in the oven, you'll see the butter bubbling on top. Oh my gosh. Make sure no air pockets are in there. I'm gonna bake this at 375 for 25 minutes, pull it out. After 25 minutes, add the remaining cheese on top and then bake it again for another 15 minutes. Woo! That looks amazing. I'm gonna let it sit. It's gonna create this really nice crispy crust.
How much jalapenos you put in here?
Do you taste it?
I do, and it's not spicy, like hot, but it's good.
Cream corn casserole. I'm using about 8 ears of corn, fresh corn, that I'm just cutting off the cob. Get all that good corn milk or just that starch that's inside the cob. That's gonna help get that casserole nice and creamy. So an easy way to cut the kernel off the cob is to get a big bowl, then get a smaller bowl, flip the bowl over to where the bottom is exposed and put your ear of corn on top and just using a chef's knife, just cut down on the cob. And so to get the milk out of the cob, just take the back of your chef's knife and just gently press down on it. You see all that milk coming out? So what I'm doing here is making my creamed corn. My butter is melted. I'm gonna add my corn. Right now I'm gonna add a 1/4 cup of whole milk, a few pinches of salt, a little black pepper. Okay. Now I just need this to cook and kind of thicken up. And you know what? A little extra butter ain't ever hurt nobody. I'm gonna actually add a half a stick of butter to this. I want this to be creamy and cheesy and buttery. Start off with boxed corn muffin mix. I'm adding in 1 cup of sharp shredded cheddar cheese. This entire container of sour cream is gonna add a little tang to it. And 2 eggs. And I'm just whisking it until I see no more streaks of that cornmeal. Okay. Now to add that creamed corn. The consistency of this casserole is gonna be a little crunchy from those fresh kernels of corn, creamy, and it's gonna have a nice layer of brown cheese on top. I have a 9x13 casserole dish here that I've sprayed with some nonstick spray. Pour my mixture right into the casserole dish. And last but not least, I'm gonna top it off with some more cheddar cheese. Okay, my oven is preheated to 350. I'm gonna bake this uncovered for about 35 to 40 minutes, or until the top is nice and bubbly and golden brown.